This might be one of the biggest online creator scandals of the year. You've got accusations of abuse, assault, blackmail, and even animal cruelty. Because over the weekend, you had Twitch streamer Emiru unveiling some pretty horrific allegations against her ex and fellow streamer Mizkif. Right? If you're unfamiliar, they are big and notable names in the streaming space, though you also might recognize their names from some pretty high-profile incidents over the last couple of years. But what you had in this stream from over the weekend was Emmy dropping a massive bomb.
Today, I'm finally going to be opening up about the psychological and domestic abuse, stalking and harassment, sexual assault, and threats of blackmail that Mizkif has done towards me, and some of these issues which are still ongoing.
Right, and that's exactly what she appeared to do. She outlined her and Mizkif's entire relationship starting back in 2021 when, before they started dating, he offered to move her into the house to escape stalkers around her place in Kansas. And then at the start of 2022, they started dating after she joined OTK, which is the streamer conglomerate that Mizkif helped start with other big streamers like Asmongold. And you had Annie saying that there were some red flags right off the bat.
It's not a secret. I think everyone who paid attention knew that he was very controlling over what I wore, to a degree, who I was friends with, and even when I would stream.
And then even worse, she alleged that he'd throw things at her like water bottles or his phone, and even gave her a black eye once. But then also you had Emmy saying that Mizkif would say it was an accident and she brushed it off. Then you had Emmy saying that it was after Mizkif's cancellation over the cover-up allegations where things got really bad and he became obsessed with the fact that her viewership numbers were higher than his. Where they're saying that it went as far as making her stream at different times in hopes that the overlap between the audiences wouldn't impact him as much. And saying one time when they did stream together, he was so mad that her numbers were better that he broke a door. And she also said that another time he started throwing things because one of her YouTube videos was performing well, leading her to say,
so basically, I felt like I was kind of stuck in a loop where I felt like I had to constantly perform and like prove my value to not be thrown away. But at the same time, if I ever performed too well, I was going to be punished for it.
With an Emmy saying that things got to a point where she knew that she needed to move out, especially because Mizkif was getting even more aggressive, saying he was punching holes in walls, banging on the door when she locked herself away in her streaming room, and even flying down the road at 150 miles per hour, threatening to kill them both. And then on top of that, she said he didn't respect boundaries, such as in an incident where after they ended things, she was crying and he was holding her. And during that, she said he kissed her face and neck, which she allowed because she was more focused on the sobbing. But also you had Emmy adding that while she was crying, he tried to take things further by suddenly reaching into her pants, with her saying she screamed, prompting him to jump up, and saying that he felt like he did something wrong and left without making sure that she was okay. Right, and then amid all this, you had Emmy saying that she tried really hard to keep things cordial because, so much of their lives overlapped, and Miz would respond by apparently berating her and accusing her of trying to harm his career. And you had Emmy saying that his pettiness over this extended to even the smallest things, like when he complained in Discord DMs that she was a better tank than him in World of Warcraft and his chat was making fun of him for it. With Emmy then saying eventually she just knew she couldn't maintain any relationship with Mizkif, so she cut off contact and said that she hasn't spoken to him since January of this year. Though that, as you had Emmy saying that he's tried to contact her 40 times since the beginning of the year. And they're sharing screenshots of him appearing to beg for a response and having a long-winded message professing his love for her. Something Emmy also said was composed nearly entirely by ChatGPT. And now, in more recent months, Emmy said that she's heard of Mizkif trying to get a smear campaign going if she ever came forward, and added,
I'm sure he's probably listening now, and it's probably going to come as quite a shock to him that this information made its way back to me and that I've known for months. But if you try to threaten me to stay quiet, especially using my poor dead animals, I'm not going to stay quiet.
And apparently that wasn't coming out of nowhere, because after this, you had Mizkif immediately jumping to accuse Emmy of neglecting her rabbits and his response by not cleaning their cages and leaving them in extreme heat without food or water, which then led over the course of a year to several of them dying because of the alleged neglect. But then as far as the other allegations that Emmy laid out, you had Mizkif having a response for nearly all of them.
In regards to being controlling, I told her many things. I told her to dress older, to stop wearing pajamas, to stop talking about stalkers and schizos as a whole, stop talking about past relationships, and yes, I didn't want her to travel without me. I also said that I didn't want her to hang out with specific people. This is because I didn't want her to get hurt.
Mizkif also responded to the accusations of violence by saying that he never hit Emmy and her characterization of him throwing things was exaggerated. And with all this, he went on to claim that he and Emmy's entire relationship was toxic, due in part because of how shitty his mental health was after he was canceled. And then also with that, he said that Emmy also threw things like plushies and clothes at him, and he would punch holes in the wall out of anger. And then he also said that they both threatened to kill themselves when things got rough. And then you had Mizkif going on to address the messages that he had sent her since she went no contact with him at the beginning of the year. And with that, saying that he was concerned because he was removed from chats and plans and just really confused. And then as far as the big long love letter, he said that he was drunk and lonely. But then that also didn't stop him from promising to go nuclear in the event that Emmy came forward with any of the issues in their relationship. Or with him saying now that he's going to defend himself and that he has more messages and videos and pictures that he's going to release over time because he has, quote, nothing to lose at this point. And so seemingly this is not where the story ends. And also, of course, because we're talking about two big online personalities, there's been a lot of reactions. So in general, it appears that most are supporting Emmy, and that appears to include other creator Asmongold, who's known both of them for years and has talked about the situation a lot. Right? And specifically, saw him saying that the argument coming from those defending Miz that he was only controlling because Emmy's content was somehow disrespectful, saying that didn't make any sense. Right? And with that, he touched on the fact that she's always had a cosplay TikTok alongside her gaming content. Right? With Asmongold also saying that there was definitely a pattern of weird behavior from Miz.
But also, like, you've got to keep in mind that Miz was also farming content with other girls in real life. It wasn't like super sexual, but it wasn't not sexual either. And like, there was an innuendo there. Yeah, he would bring these girls on all the time. So before we go and we talk about like, oh, well, it's just like a boyfriend that didn't want to be disrespected by his girlfriend. How can you talk about not wanting to be disrespected by your girlfriend and even play that card whenever you have a revolving door of girls around that you bring on to farm as if like there might be something going on?
And he went on to say that Mizkif has a history of dishonesty, saying,
but what I can say is that the things that I have seen and everything that I have been witness to indicates that Miz is a liar.
And so with that, regarding the alleged animal neglect, you had Asmon quick to point out that Emmy has spent tens of thousands of dollars on care for the rabbits and clearly cared for them.
As I said, I've never seen any evidence of that. Everything, I mean, again, like whenever she's in her new house and in the house before that, the rabbits were being taken care of and they weren't being abused. You could ask Bonnie and Senna that. It's just bullshit.
And also with this, I'll say, this is kind of just the tip of the iceberg, really. Where there's all sorts of things kind of shooting off from this. We're now seeing old clips of things surfacing of Mizkif at best being a huge dick to his ex Maya Higa. But hey, for now, that is generally where we are. We're gonna have to wait to see how this plays out. And of course, I'd love to know your opinion, but especially if you're someone that's been in this space, you're very familiar with it. What are your thoughts, opinions, and takeaways here?